Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today, I'm start this Bava Metzia, Daf Kuf Ches. We're going to begin on Kuf Ches Amud Aleph, about 8 lines from the top. Rabbi Yehuda. Hakol le'igle gapa. Everyone is required, as Rashi says, ligdor choimas ha'ir, in the building of the city gates, lahamid shareha, to make sure there's again fences and gates, shlichanis sava sainim le'ir, so that your enemies won't be able to penetrate into your city. Mefil miyasmi, doesn't make any difference, even if it's an orphan who doesn't have parents, in which we're very makel when it comes to taking money from them. They're also obligated in this communal responsibility. El Rabbanan lo, however, the Rabbanan not. Why? So my time Rabbanan lo tzrichin itirusa. The Rabbanan do not need protection, as Rashi says, Taraso mishmartoi, so that the Torah protects you. So therefore, you don't need protection. So you don't need to pay for it. However, lekarya de pasya v'afil mirabanan. However, when it comes to, as Rashi says, lichros ma'ayin or boris l'mayim lishtais, in order to be able to have proper water in the city and having wells and the like, so they do have to contribute financially to that, because obviously they need water. It says Rashi, shahari gam hem srichen lishtais, so therefore obviously they must pay. However, lo moran el adoi nafka be uchluza abol achluza loy. So they don't have to go out to actually dig the wells. The Rabbanan laben ne mepak be'ul kuzaninhu. That's not something in which they really would be due. So, for example, you hire people to dig wells, the Talmud Chacham must contribute, but not for the Talmud Chacham to dig the wells themselves, if that is the custom for everyone to help dig the wells. Says Rashi, she'ein yoitzin bali batim atzman lachbar elagoyvin mois seichen poalim. So again, if they hire workers, so they have to pay for them. However, if not, if the people themselves do it, that's why it says Genayu hulahen. It's a disgrace for a Talmud Chacham to engage in such activities. Amar Yehuda l'karya de nahara. When it comes to says Rashi, this water canal that's coming through, tatoi Messiah Eloi, the upper people need to help them out. So tatoi Messiah Eloi, the upper people need to help them out. Eloi will Messiah tatoi. However, not the other way around, says Rashi. What does that mean? That when they're fixing it, so because of the way that the water is going, so therefore it's totally on whether or not the top people or the bottom people need to help the other person out. And it's only if by the way that the water is going that you need it too. But if it doesn't affect you because the water is not connected to you in any way, or it doesn't have any negative way by you, so therefore the fact that it's affecting someone else, you shouldn't have to pay. The chilupa b'mai demitra, and it's the opposite when it comes to rainwater. Says Rashi, k'goin be'ir shehamayim kashim. Let's say it's a city where the water is heavy, strong, laharbos tit l'kalkalas hadrachim, and the roads are very muddy. V'islehem chritz b'moirid l'morid hamayim chutz l'ir. So basically, they make this indentation so that water will be able to go through. So, skipping a couple lines, ha'elyonim srichin l'sayes ha'tachtoinim. So the upper ones need to help the bottom ones. Lichos kenegdan shekolzman shel yardu hamayim hatachtoinim. Because if the water doesn't, it's almost like a gutter. If the water doesn't go properly at the bottom, yamdu ha'elyonim b'mkaiman. So then, what ends up happening, gets clogged up. So therefore, the people on the top want the bottom to be unclogged, so that this way it'll go through. However, if let's say it's clogged up at the top, so then it doesn't matter to the people on the bottom. So it's only the people on the top care about what's going on the bottom, because the water will end up running upward. However, again, it's the opposite when it comes to, as we said, this nahar, this river, that in that case, it's pofakert, that the bottom people need the top, but the top people don't need the bottom. Okay, so again, it's basically if it gets stuck on the bottom, no one will help to fix it, since the top people, it doesn't matter to them. That's referring to the first case, as opposed to the opposite situation when we're dealing with the Maya Demitra. Tanemi Hachi. Chamish Ganais Hamis Tapkois Mayim Mimayin Echad. So this is basically what we're going to say again. If you have these 5 different gardens, and they're all connected to this one Ma'ayin, Niskalkel HaMa'ayin, and it's on a slope, and it got all blocked up. So Kulam Masaknais Im Hel Yoina, everyone is going to have to fix it. Nim says we find Hatachtainim Masakenes Im Kulon, Masakenes Atzma. Again, the bottom one, they're Masakena for themselves and also for everyone else. Again, if it got stuck on the bottom, no one will help them to fix it, since the top people, it doesn't matter for them. 5 courtyards, Shahayu Mikalchais Maim Mubiv. If, let's say again, you have this gutter, Habib, and there's some type of jam in the gutter, the water's not going through. Kol Masaknos Im Hatachtona. Again, this is how we explained it, that everyone needs the bottom to be good, because otherwise the water's going to go up. Nim says El Yoina Masakenes Im Kulon Masakenes Atzma. So therefore, the top people want it for themselves and for everyone else, because again, the top ones, they need to make sure that the bottom part is unclogged, or else it's going to affect the people on the top. Okay, weiter. Amr Shmuel, Haiman di Achsik Birakta de Nahara. If you have a person who claimed land near water, Chatzifa Havi, it's a chutzpah, Saluki Lomasal Kalinin lay, but we're not able to remove them. So it says Rashi, Bishnei Haparsim Hoya, Hakarka Mufgar L'choil, Hakoidim L'haksik Bo V'Hifro HaMelech L'Melech Taska. So if you have property, the Persian government didn't really care. All they wanted was taxes. So the first person who is willing to take it over and to be able to pay taxes, they basically now are the owners of this property. It says Rashi, let's say he took over this property and he's paying taxes, but it's a makom shahasfinus oilus linamel. You have boats that are typically supposed to go in that area as a port. The sarach makom panoi harbe lefroiki masais lasfinos v'la to'anim metochan u'moitzian. So really, obviously, if you have a boat and there's all this merchandise, you need a lot of space to be able to unload and to load. V'zeh hichsik livnai sham binyan. This guy decides to build a house there. Go lacharish lazroi, decides to make a field. Chatzifa havoy shemekalkel makam rabim. He's really causing a lot of problems for the rabbim, because now they don't have the same space when they are trying to unload and load their stuff. But again, even though it's a chutzpah that they did this, saluki l'masaklinale, we can't really do much about it. However, idna de kokasve parsoi. However, nowadays that it's written, parsoi kanilach ad molit savari susya maya saluki nami misaklinale. So we are able to remove them, says Rashi. Anyone who purchases land near a river, they're allowed to own the land Maloit Saver Hasus, the amount of the neck of a horse. The Leichin Gardun Gederon Rachak Min Nahar, and they'll build a fence away from the river, shul kalkalas makam harabim, so as not to cause problems for the rabbim. The imbo echad v'hichzik min hagader latzad hanar misaklin lefi shehu kanu l'bahagader ad teichamayim. So if someone ends up taking over that property, which they weren't supposed to, then we actually could have them removed. Omer Yehuda Omer Rav, Haiman di achasik beini ache uvini shutvik. Let's say you have a person who takes over a field which is between two brothers or two partners, says Rashi, Sada ha'omedes likach betaska. Again, this notion of taking over a field, therefore you don't have to pay taxes on it. However, Sadashne achim smuchin lo mikan makan. You have brothers who obviously they want to be able to maybe share equipment. Now all of a sudden you're taking over this land in between them. So chatzifa havi. Again, it's a chutzpah that he did this. However, not much we can do about it, because again, according to Persian government, that is the deal, that they own that property. But Nachman Amar Nami Misakalina. No, we actually could remove them. The Imishum Dinah de Bar Metzia Lo Misakalina. However, if the whole issue is because of Dinah de Bar Metzia, says Rashi, Im Einan Lo Achim Lo Shutvin. Let's say they're not brothers or partners. El Mekoich Metzronus, Boyin al Hamachsik, V'Amrim Anu Hayinu Mitzapim Lokachta, Shonu Srichel Makarka, V'Toibach Alechad Liknos, V'Samach Loim Likach Mamachamacher. So the din of the Bar Metzia, which we're going to talk a lot in this daf, is that if you're going to sell property, you're supposed to give the person who has an adjacent field the first rights to buy that at fair market price. So Als Dinah de Bar Metzia, maybe we should allow this person, we should remove this person, because again, instead of him taking it, someone else should have had the right. So he said, when it comes to the din of the Bar Metzia, lo masaklin and lay, we cannot remove him. Says Rashi, the lo ivchasalan ladina the Bar Metzia klal, because the Persian government doesn't care about the dinim of the Bar Metzia at all when it comes to this. And when it comes to court, there's not much you can do. So Nardayar, we know, Afil Mishum the Bar Metzia, Misaklin and Lay, Mitaka could remove him. Mishum Shenem Reisa Yoshem Atabine Hashem, because this is a violation of Yasisa Yoshem Atoiv. As Rashi says, Davar Shiata Nexer Kolkach, you're not really losing out. You could easily have gotten land somewhere else. There's plenty of land. So the fact that you took this specific property in which the neighbor should have had rights first to be able to get it, so actually we could have you removed. Also, Imluch Bey, let's say he consults with his neighbor, and he's basically saying, I'm interested in selling it. Armalei goes, Azel Isman, go and sell it, don't worry, I'm not going to buy it. Armalei, Azel Isman, I'm going to sell it. Armalei, Zil Zav, and go, Sarcha Miknamine Oiloi. The question is a kinyan necessary? So Ravina Omer, Lo Sarach Lamikna, you don't need a kinyan from the neighbor. Amine. You do have to make a kinyan. And Taki, you do need to make a kinyan, says Rashi. So Nardoi says you need it. The ilo kanamine, because if you didn't actually do something of a kinyan based on this idea, the neighbor said, don't worry about it. Matzi Armele Mashata Yisabacha. He could always turn around and say, I was just joking around that I wasn't interested. I am interested. Kedeo Hamido al Damim Haruyin Law, Sheim Bossi Ani Etzel Habalim Hoyamali Badamim. Bishvil Shechavibalai. You knew that obviously I was interested, and the problem is that you would end up raising the price. So I said, don't worry about it. Basically, the idea was I was maybe hoping that you would have the price at a normal price, and then eventually I would buy it. But the Metzia is that I was interested. So therefore, you need to make a kinyan in order to be able to demonstrate that actually the neighbor renounced his rights. That he must. If he doesn't make a kinyan, then when it's more or less, it's in the rishus. The neighbor could claim it. Says Rashi, his kinyan is nothing. Im yakar azov went up or down. Or b'shus to the bar metzra. Yakar azov oisav yigra halokeach mol kabel damim shenosan ba. The yakar ravcha the bar metzrahu. The chizol psei the bar metzrahu. Okay, fine. And then the Gemara says the following: let's say zavin b'meya b'shavi masam. Let's say we're dealing with a situation that the actual value was 200, but you sold the property for 100. So chazina, and now the neighbor claims it. So again, you sold it for 100, but it was really worth a lot more, 200. Don't forget, you sold it for 100. Yeah, it was worth 200. So chazina, if this discount of 100 was offered to everyone, they should be able to pay 100 and take it. However, if this was not a discount that was really provided for everyone, so therefore he would have to pay the 200. However, let's say Zavin b'masna v'shabamei, let's say it was the other way around. He actually got a lot more than it was worth. It was worth only 100, but he ended up getting 200. So Savimino, we thought that Metzia Amalei Sakuni Shedratich V'Lolavasti, which we say regarding Shlichus, that he can say the whole purpose is only for my benefit, not for my detriment. There's no din when it comes to ono when it comes to land, and therefore for that reason he would actually have to pay the 200, even though it's true that it was only worth 100. But the reality is, if he sold it for 200, then he would still have to pay 200. Okay, Zavin le geriva da'ara b'metzia nichse. Let's say he is, says Rashi, selling this land in the mid, and it's in the middle of the land. Chazin and it is he iziborisi zvini zvini. If it's high quality or low quality, then it's a good sale, since it's different kinds of fields. As Rashi, then mitzarani hamoicher yichoin lasalkoi. So your neighbor cannot remove him. Shar yesh b'neihem hefsek, because between them there is different fields. So again, you have this he ended up selling this land, which is in the middle of the land. So if it's Idias or Ziboris, then it's a good sale. As we continue to Kuf Chesamad Beis, the Ilo. However, if let's say the field is the same quality as the other ones around it, so Idias Ziboris means if that which you sold is higher or lower quality than all the other lands around it, then he has no claim. However, if it's exactly the same, Arumi Kamarim. So basically, he's just playing games in this notion, and therefore, for that reason, you could be Masalik, because why did you sell this property? You could have sold the other property, and therefore it could have been more beneficial for the neighbor. Okay, let's look at question 9. Halokech sadeh shavamasayim. It was worth 200 b'mana, and you only got 100. Kama naisin bar hametzel lokech masalkai. How much does the bar metzia have to pay? Madin b'lachach shavamana b'masayim. So 200 to 100 or 100 to 100. So this is what he says. Lachach shavamasayim b'mana. So if let's say he bought something which was worth 200 and he gave him a great deal, so im hoizel kuliyalm, if you give a discount to everyone, nice little mana. So then the bar metzia has to give 100, like the discount he gave to everyone. The im hoizel rak lo nice masayim. But if let's say it was only for one person but not for everyone else, then he would have to pay the full 200. Locha shavamana b'masayim nice masayim, as we said in ono karkais. So therefore, the fact that it was for 200, which is seeming a whole lot more, it doesn't make any difference. The din is that it's going to be 200. TA4, Zavin b'mei of a shavi masan. Let's say he sold it for 100, it was worth 200. Kalmatzach the bar mitzvah litin loikech as we said. So it's the same question as we said as question 9. So that was question TB4, which is on Kuf Ches Amud Aleph TA4. Let me just see TA3. I must have Elon Ha'imid al Hametzar Let me Shaychim Haperos. I'm not sure why I didn't skip that. So Larav Lahechin Shenaita Lashmul Yachloku Malikol Meitzar L'Kol Yamol Yachloku. Okay, this was actually in yesterday's daf. All right, let's see question TB. TB5. Madua in Din Bar Metzia. Okay, we didn't do that yet. We're going to get to that. Okay, let's continue. Now we're going to see more of the Din of Bar Metzia on this Amud. So Matana. Let's say you want to give your land as a gift. So the person who is your neighbor, did he have the rights to buy that property? No. Leisla mishum din de bar metzia. There's no din of the bar metzia in that situation because you want to give someone a gift. So therefore, it's not like the normal circumstance when you're selling that you have to give rights to your neighbor. Amar Meimar. Ikasav le'achrayis. If let's say you did write achrayis on this, iso mishum din de bar metzia. Says Rashi, Devadi mechahu. It's actually like a sale. Shein kaisan achrayis al matana, because there's no way that you would have written that on a gift. You're not going to give someone a gift, and then in case somehow there's a lien on this land, you're going to end up having to pay this guy. No, so it must be it was a sale, and therefore it is a din bar metzia. Machar kol nechasav le'echad leisma mishum din bar metzia. Let's say you sold everything to one person, so then there's no din bar metzia in that situation. So, and let's just see, if you sold it to the original owner, you sold it back to the original owner, let's hold off 1 second. Says Rashi, okay, let's hold off. We'll see this Rashi again, which I think is going to be the next case. Zovin ma'akum, zovin li'akum. Let's say you either took your land and purchased it from an akum, or it was sold to an akum. Leisma mishum din demar metzra. There's no din demar metzra if you have an akum involved in the purchase or the sale. Zovin ma'akum. So why do we say that if you purchased it from an akum, there's no din demar metzra? Di'armilei ari avrachi loch mimetzra. I basically did you a favor. I got rid of this lion, so I chased away a bad neighbor. So the fact that I quickly bought this land, you shouldn't be worried, it shouldn't be a good sale. You should be happy that I did it, because this way you don't have to worry about this person buying you anymore. I'm your new neighbor. And zaban le'akum, akum vada labar v'yasisi yashavatayvu. There's no din of v'yasisi yashavatayv. So 1 second. So if you sold it to an akum, so the loikeach is the akum in this case. This is where the Rashi says this. Shalotiknu chachamim loikeach. The akum is the loikeach, is the buyer. We're not masaking the din of the mar metzra for the sake of the buyer. Was stalik lasais hayoshem atoyv lubal hametzer shehura lo moicher. That is bad to the seller. Shazel lo yikne hashar. Since he will lose the whole deal, okay. So Ari Avrachalach ve'enlocha Yashar Toiv Mizeh Akum La Bar V'Yasisa ve'en Lona Loimer El Din Mar Metzra V'Yasisa Yashar Tov El Loikeach. Right? Shahamoich. The whole din is only Loikeach. The seller can say, again, he sold it to the akum. What do you want me to do? If you want, I won't sell it to you. Okay. The truth is we are going to put this seller into Cherem, until he accepts all the responsibility, basically because of the sale to the Akum. When it comes to a mashkain, so basically I give you a loan and I'm holding on to your mashkon, so there's no din of bar metzra because you actually are considered to be the closest, because this mashkon you can collect from this land. Ravashi Amrli Sabi the Masa Machasia. He said in the city of Machasia, my mashkanta tishchu negabe my nafkamina ledin bar metzra. So this person who has the mashkin residing by him, he's like the closest neighbor. So therefore, that's the reason why there's no din of din bar metzra when it comes to the person holding a mashkin. Let's say you sell, it's far, and the redemption is close. That's Rashi. If the reason why he's selling the land, the land is too far from him to take care of, and his goal is just to buy land which is closer to him, or for that matter, bara, he's selling bad land, legal biyafa, so he can buy better land. There's no din about in that situation of bar metzra. So we're not going to cause this guy a loss. Again, it's a tremendous tircha, the fact that he is not interested in traveling so far in order to be able to get this. If, let's say, it's in order to be able to pay taxes, or that's why he's selling the land, or to provide mazonos for yisomim, or to take care of burial expenses, there's no din bar metzra. Yamanar doi lekargo mazono kavura mizamninan beloy ach razta. You can sell the land even without the typical announcements that are made. If let's say the land is being sold to a woman, says Rashi, we're not going to take it away. A woman is not going to be looking around for land, so therefore if she got land, so we're not going to take it away from her. Whatever she got her hands on, we're not going to apply the pasuk to take it away from her. So too when it comes to partners. So it makes sense because the shutaf is really the closest also. So therefore, there's no din of the bar metzah. And again, for Yisayimim, typically we're very lenient for that same reason as for an isha. Shecheni ha'ir, shecheni sada. Let's say you have neighbors of the city, neighbors of the field. Says Rashi, Nira be'enai, it appears to me, the lav bedina de bar metzra ayri. Here we're not talking about the laws of requiring to sell to one over the other. It's just like good advice. So if you have neighbors of a city and neighbors of the field, so shchena ir koidman. So you should sell it to the neighbors of the city first. Shachin v'talmid chacham koidem. If you have a neighbor and a talmid chacham, you should give it to the talmid chacham first. Kar v'talmid chacham koidem. Again, you should give it to the talmid chacham, or sell to the talmid chacham before the karv. Now they're going to ask a question. What if you have a neighbor, which you're supposed to sell to, but you also have talmid chacham, or you have a karv rather. So tashma toiv shachin karv mi'ach rachik. Better is a close neighbor than a distant relative. So basically, what it's saying is that between the two, then you should sell to the shachin. Hani zuzi tavi. Let's say he has some heavy coins. V'hani zuzi Tikule leisba mishum din bar metzra. So over here again we go back to din bar metzra. Says Rashi, matzran shibal oira olamekach. So you have a neighbor who's complaining. Maybe mois, he brings money. Shemishkal and toiv, that its way is good. Better than the buyer's money. Tavin v'charifin b'matbeh hayoytze yoytz mishel matzran v'inami ibcha. So in other words, the money's not of the bar metzra, of the neighbor, but the other person has money in which is more accepted, is more liquid, if you will, or more accepted currency. We don't apply the din of bar metzra there. Hani tsari v'hani share leisma mishum din of bar metzra. If let's say you have one with bundled monies together, and the other one with monies which are not, so it says Rashi v'zeh yari l'hatiron, person's afraid to untie it, shel yomer yoser hayu v'shel kech mutarin, and the buyer's is untied, so like you're uncomfortable about this whole situation. So we can give it to we'll give it to the person with the untied money. Oimer Azel v'etrach, I'm going to go and trouble myself. I see Zuzi and get money. Lo natrinan lay. So the din is we don't wait for this person. We're not going to just assume that he's going to be able to do it. So Omer, if he says Azel I see Zuzi, I'll get it now, then chazinan. If this guy's rich and there's a very good chance that he actually will get the money, then you should wait. But if this guy doesn't have a reputation for having a whole lot of money available, then you don't have an obligation to wait. Let's say you have land of one and a house of one. In other words, the house on the property is a different owner than the property. Mari Aram Akev Amari Bate. So the owner of the land could hold back the owner of the house. What does that mean? Says Rashi, Shalolim Chor Habinyan, that the owner of the land could say to the person who owns the house that you can't sell the house to anyone else. To Hoyol Vahu Bal Maichram Mazet Sarchletoiv Shebinyanu Bakarka Shalav Ika Hayashav. So again, the person who owns the land could say to the person who owns the house, I'm not allowing you to sell this house to any strange person. However, the person who owns the house doesn't have that same authorization over the person who owns the land. Let's say one person owns the land and one person owns a date palm tree. So again, the owner of the land has more power. However, the person who owns the tree doesn't have power over the owner of the land. Let's say one person is the owner for a house, the other one is for planting. So Yishuv Adav, settling the property that is building a house, that comes first. The Yisba Mishum Dinabar Metzra. Afsek Mishunisa. Let's say Rashi says, let's see over here. Afsik Mishunisa, Shane Sela. You have this bedrock. Masik Bein Sada Zu, Sada Shel Matzran, separating one, the field and the neighbor. O Richba Dedikla, or let's say for that matter, says Rashi, had to call on these trees which are bent down and near the other ones, Chazina. If you'll tell him Echad, let's say you can squeeze in even one row, then Isba Mishum Dina de Bar Metzra. The Elo, but if you can't even do that, Leisba Mishum Dina de Bar Metzra. Hani Dalad B'nei Matzrane. When it comes to these four borders, the Kadam Chad Minayu the Zabin, one of the four neighbors sells. Zavini Zvini, it's a good sale. The Ikulu, but if let's say again you have owners on all 4 different sides, it's a good sale. The Kulu also Bahadiadadi Palgula Bikarnzil. However, if they all sell it, then not. If you look at this picture on the bottom over here, Karnzil is Karen Zeal, go to the corners. So everyone gets a piece of the land near their property. So basically, this land would be split up into these 4 pieces, so that this way everyone would be able to get some of the land. It says Rashi, Ba'arba al kasainais shehiko echa noitel bal pnei kula samach l'zgazeh l'loshen karnzil ziba lekranos. Go to the corners. Okay, so we're going to stop there, but let's see, maybe another question popped up. Let's see question 10. Marchol isha or yasmi ha'im yesh bo mishum den demar Metzia. The answer is no. Madua. So question 10. The ain darkum lahaduri lavakish mi sheish lo karkos. It's not the way for them to go to ask for people who have land limchor to sell it. Umashbal liyadchem liyadehim l'rishon. Whatever comes to their hands first, lokhin they would buy. Lafikach ein lanu loimer b'yasisa yoshev ha'toiv l'harchikam. So we're not going to apply b'yasisa yoshev ha'toiv to basically distance them away from it. Okay, let's maybe see one more question. Yeah, question TB5. So he asked the question like this: Madua ein din bar mitzvah b'zaven me'akum b'zaven le'akum. Sorry about hapasik shel v'yasis yoshev ha'toiv l'shayach le'akum. V'gam le'inyan mechira zeh kamo ari b'tok sedehu v'achshav, and now ein ari shezeh tov shehu oise b'shvil Yisraelim hasmuchin loy. So basically, I was saying again the fact that I was able to get this guy out of your property. So that certainly is the reason why, if it was zavin mi'akum, it's not a problem. Zavin li'akum, again, we don't apply the pasuk v'yisrael hashem time. I in the Rashi on this daf. Adkan.